mark you to take it too far. He put you in submission and now let you out. Like even if you tapped like that, Chris, he just wasn't here for it.
I wonder if kids have like the rationalization now to just be like, oh, so that's just not for you. Like you can't go here with us. Like you talk a lot. Like if they go to break a rule, like you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, like nah,
I think some people did that. Like
I think kids are better than us now.
well, not
no, I'm just saying like
that's
they're
crazy.
No, I'm just saying like they're more smart. Like they're in a world that moves differently. So
they're not.
like
That's what's
no. I feel like they're like socially ignorant.
Hold on. Before we do that. Yo, we want to welcome y'all to another conversation with the Logic-Based Collective, where we collectively challenge each other mentally and spiritually. We're here to have you along. We're glad to have you along on this journey with us. And we are the collective. That's KJ. It's T White, Ryan, AJ, and I think, oh, that's a KJ. That's just sounded somewhere. Okay, so
we here.
today we're talking about whether or not we can identify our negative triggers and whether or not we're doing anything to make them not. I don't know what the word is to make them not triggers anymore. Whether we're doing the work to become better people.
Okay.
So, Kay, you want to start?
I guess you just told me that. Let's see. Well, I don't know if I have like an ongoing negative trigger, but one of mine currently that I'm working with is just making sure that I don't expect myself and others, I guess, which is tough because I'm somewhere between understanding that people are doing their best and somewhere between understanding that people can probably still apply more effort. So I don't know if I'm supposed to give passes or if I'm supposed to be like, yeah, that means that you don't want to be there as a friend in that same way or whatever. You know what I mean? So right now that's like, I think I'm in the process of doing the quote unquote work to navigate that issue better.
So then you're when that stuff happens, what is the thing that sort of sets you off about, you know what I'm saying? Like, or something that, because I'm saying, like, you know, it's something that's hard that I guess, for lack of a better phrase, kind of grind your gears.
Yeah, right.
But you know what I mean? Like that you have an issue. You know what I'm saying? You know, like back in the day, like you might have been able to get goaded into certain arguments, and then you know what I'm saying? Like, but as time went by, you was kind of like, well, like I'm not even gonna hop in the conversation because I already know.
Yeah,
like, it's not gonna go well for me.
I mean, but unfortunately, like I guess I don't want to like out anything. So I can't give the most specific examples because it's not some past scenario.
I feel
it's something I'm actively like going through, and like when I'm trying to find out if like said person or said people are not there for me the way I feel I'm there for them, or you know what I mean, I'm just more or less looking at every situation and I'm like I'm already an overthinker, so I'm just like actively questioning myself. I'm like, nah, bro, get out your feelings. And I'm like, nah, bro, maybe they aren't looking out for you. And I'm like, nah, bro, maybe it's not that serious. And I'm like, nah, bro, maybe you're being passive now. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like I'm just like looking at everything, and it's like I'm not in a space where I'm taking things with a grain of salt, unfortunately. Whereas usually it's like whatever.
That's honest.
Care. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
So I'm just trying to get better at that. And I mean, I don't know if get better means I go back to ignoring it or if that means that I reevaluate who gets so much time and energy from me. I'm not sure yet. So
it's still so like that kind of stuff bothers you. And like what do you I mean like when it first started coming up, if you can go back that far, like how did you handle it then as opposed to the way that you handle it now?
I believe before I just let it like roll, like I won't care. Like in the biggest thing is I think somewhere between growing as a person emotionally and growing spiritually, honestly, like, you know, you start giving yourself, like I'm giving myself this whole like, oh, whatever's in my charitable nature, like that's cool, like God's got me. Then it's like after a while, you're like, okay. Like, do I just get to keep saying that to like realize that I've taken this permanent position of giver in someone else's life and they've taken a permanent position of taker in mine?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, and like, you know, you're not supposed to keep score in friendships, relationships, etc. So you're just looking at things more or less like, oh, I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, you're like, oh, I'm not keeping score. But then, like, when you're like, oh, I could use some help with da da da. And then, like, said person could be like, yeah, nah. And you'd be like, that's crazy because, like, when you needed help,
Yeah.
and like,
Yeah.
I won't say it out loud, but I like when I started seeing it creep into my mind,
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, like I was like, yo, I'm starting to keep score subconsciously. I don't want to do that. But then like now I'm not verbalizing that. Still not verbalizing it. But before I didn't even have the thought. So I could see it like slowly growing. Where I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of weird.
It just makes for another question. Well, I don't want to go too far on the subject, but like, so like how would anybody can answer this, but like how I think that's another form of being able to keep certain people or to hold certain people accountable in our lives. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, if I feel like that is the relationship that we should have, maybe I'm mistaken. So, you know what I mean? Like I have to, like I gotta address this. I don't want to sound one type of way, but like, yo, it do seem like you know what I mean? Like, because for me, I would want clarification. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, I want to know if I'm tripping, then you know what I'm saying? Like, then I'm tripping. But if I feel like and then especially if it's a constant thing, because I don't really want for people to be around that, you know what I'm saying, like that. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna try to pour into you. I would like the same thing as well.
But I think that's where my girl and myself we differ because we were speaking on something and she was speaking about holding someone accountable for whatever the example was in our conversation. That's applicable to like stuff I'm not gonna disclose or whatever.
Yeah.
But she was basically like, "Oh yeah, look, I'm talking to them about it." Da, da, da. And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I guess they're lucky to have you as a friend in comparison to me." I was like, because although on the front end, like you get me not saying much, you also get me trusting your actions. So whenever I just feel like I've reached my personal breaking point, we probably don't discuss it much. And I'm just like, well, that's happened enough for it to keep sticking out of my head. I'll give you space.
Would you say, I guess, like how I would look at it, like if the relationship with whoever is worth addressing something, is it something that you would try to catch early on? You know what I mean? Like, so that it's not a repeat thing. So that it's one of those things where like, okay, you did this one time. I'm going to assume that if our relationship is what we think it is, I can discuss this with you, and it won't be a thing. Because I think sometimes people allow things to happen once or twice, so then the other person doesn't see the harm in it. You know
Makes
what I mean?
sense.
So then it's a continued action as opposed to if you kind of just say something right then and there. Because most times you go into these relationships or friendships or whatever the case may be, where you feel as though if you're that close, especially at this age, you don't just have like a bunch of casual friends. You generally have the people that you have, and it's like if I feel that they were that close, I feel that we can have that discussion too. And we don't really lose anything from it. You know what I mean?
And I would hope for anyone that actually I don't know how everyone's pride and or ego is set up, but I would hope for anyone that steps out on that ledge for it to go in your favor. And when I say that, I mean like I really would hope that you get like some remorse from the person that you're counting on, as opposed to getting evidence that they're not who you counted on. Because if I'm being completely honest, I only found myself realizing that I probably want to continue down the path of not saying much by going into a situation with someone that I felt was worth having a knockdown, drag out conversation with, and then not going anywhere.
Right.
now, like, you know what I mean? Like, to be honest, it'll probably be like some PTSD. Like, I'm like, I don't need to do that. Like, at the end of the day, like, if you keep doing something, that's how you feel.
My experience is a little different because early on in my early on in my life, I was a person who continually poured into people. You know what I mean? And made myself available and things of that nature. And as I have evolved and adapted, I've really become outcome independent. You know what I mean? Like I really don't really expect anything from anyone. You know what I mean? I was very much the person who, you know what I mean, because I'm this way, you know what I'm saying? I expect that from other people, but you don't get that, you know what I mean, even from the people that you feel like you should. So I'm just kind of like, you got to show it, you got to prove it to me. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of where I'm at this point.
Yeah, I think I you know I well as a friend, like it, I think that not only would not only would I be able to have that conversation, but I feel like as a friend, if I were on the other end of it, like it would hurt my feelings so bad for you know what I mean, like for somebody that's down close to feel like you know what I mean, like that they're not getting that because you know what I mean, like that's what it is that that I try to do, especially when we talk about any type of relationship at this stage in the game. Is like you really only have the people around you that you want. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't be going out to hang out with nobody just like just because we just got this this one this one thing in common. I feel like I got to be a friend to everybody. I don't like you know what I'm saying. And so if if it's somebody like yo such as and before I even get upset at what they're saying, I will reevaluate myself, and that's even with overthinking sometimes it's a killer because it's like what I'm saying, like you end up blaming yourself for everything sometimes. But what I'm saying, like I know if it's like if it's somebody like that, like yo I need to think about this, and then and then reflecting back on it, then I'm probably like yeah I can see why saying like you feel like that. I can what I mean, like, but the conversation kind of brings out information that maybe you weren't saying to the other person to for them to better understand your situation, and then like you know what I mean, like you just are able to come to an understanding. When I feel like I have to just shut down and not say nothing, I know you know what I mean, like what time it is. It's right. Yeah. So
I just
Terrell,
think
what
some,
about you, man? Oh, go ahead, Chuck.
Oh no, I was just responding to you. I was just saying like sometimes things are really cut and dry, and to me like explanation is almost like it's like a easy way out. You know what I mean? Like it's like yo, like you know, pause or whatever. But it's like yo, like I love you enough as a friend to create this space where you get to completely back out of like kicking me in the face.
Yeah.
And then like the only thing that can happen is like I can look like a real chump where like they'd be like, yeah, I did it. And that's happened to me. or you end up in a situation where they're like, nah, I didn't mean to kick you in your face when I like lifted my foot up and directed it at your face. You'd be like, well, why would you do that? So there's no real explanation. You're just giving them like a get out of jail free card to like to doing you wrong. And I think that's why like I'm hard with like creating that space. Like it's not like really a thing that I can feel like is like super unintentional. People are always able to be like, I didn't know I couldn't do that. Looks like you knew. Like, you knew you should know your friends like that. Like
Facts. This is the Digital Boombox Network. We are the Logic-based collective, and we are talking about things that trigger us negatively and the things that we're doing to overcome those triggers. See what?
One of my major triggers right now in my life is unreliable people. You know what I mean? When you're at this age and we have so much going on and we're taking the time and making the time to be available for people and to be available for things, and you just can't show up or you can't give a courtesy call or at least show some sort of respect for my time and my energy, yeah, I really have no time for it. So that's something that's really really grinds my gears.
I feel you. Man, listen, we feel like we almost write a book on that.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like probably because of the way that we communicate now, sort of lends to the way that people interact. like a lot of maybe like back in the day before there was like texting and stuff like that, you were sort of forced to talk to people because like, you know what I'm saying? Like unless you're gonna like handwrite them a letter and then like wait for it to get there a couple of days if you were in the same city. Like you know what I'm saying? Like so but I think like now because it's like, all right, well, this is supposed to happen. All it, you know what I mean? Like we know that this thing is supposed to happen. All it takes is for you to say yes or no. Or if you're supposed to be there, I don't want to give you 9 courtesy calls to be like, yo, I still need you to do such and such. Like, yo, this needs to happen. But I feel like people are sort of I don't want to say to get passive aggressive and like if they really don't want to do anything, but I think just some it kind of to Terrell's point, it sort of grinds my gears in a way, in that same way, like when people commit to something, to like only for you to have to wind up chasing them around or do or whatever whatever situation is, because I'm one of the mindset is like I would have found a way to have done it myself. You know what I'm saying? Like or I could have asked somebody else. I didn't want to have to be, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to, put me in a position. You done said that that you were gonna do, and now, you know what I mean? Like now what's happening? So yeah, I totally get where you're coming from, bro. So
I think that well how do you handle that? Because
right now I'm at a place where I just take a step back, man. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to assert myself in anybody's life that doesn't want me there. And we're all grown, bro. You know what I'm saying? So
but we live in a world that's like casually unreliable. I hate to say it, but like wait, why did you laugh?
go into that.
No, I mean like think about it. Think about how like you could put up a meme referencing like someone saying they're 5 minutes away and say, so how many minutes do you think they're away?
Right.
And like that is a degree of unreliability.
It is.
You know what I mean? But we're fine with that. All fine. So it's like if that becomes something that upsets you, like me, I try my best to be a punctual person. So like I've been the guy to hurry up and wait numerous times.
I've also been that guy, but I also am currently the guy who will give myself a time limit on waiting. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to sit there for 45 minutes. If we're going to be here, you got about 7 minutes. When it gets to that 7-minute window, your boy is chirping out. You know what I'm saying? And it took me time to get to that space. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But my time and your time is very important, right? Yeah. So if you can't respect mine, I have no space to respect yours. Bro. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to give you a window. If I message you and you don't hit me back, cool. I'm going to give you whatever number pops in my head. 7, 3, 6, 15, whatever it is. I'm going to allow you that much space. But if you can't get there in that space, I hit you next time.
If there's a next time. All you really got to do is be like, yo, I'm running late. That's what, you know what I mean? Like, yo, all you got to do is say, yo, I'm running late. I'll be in a couple minutes, whatever. Right. Some form of communication.
But like, nothing? Like, yo, come on, man. We're not dating. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gonna ghost me for our arrangement? Like, come on, bro. Like, I got no time for it.
Bro. Yeah, I feel you, bro. I feel you, man. That was, struck a chord with me, bro. Like,
for real, man. And it took a while, man, because I'm a super, super loyal person. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're in my circle, like, I am going to be there. I'm going to be reliable. I'm going to be attentive. You know what I'm saying? That's just the dude that I am. You know what I'm saying? And as I found that people didn't respect me or my time or my space to the same way that I value theirs, I had to take a step back. One, to protect myself, but also to grow, because I can't continue to do the same thing with an undesirable result and be okay with that. You know what I'm saying? So I had to do something to protect myself. You know what I'm saying? And also give me the space to say, is this relationship what I want or what I deserve?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's not for somebody else to tell me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to allow you to be like, no, man, I really love you. I really care about you. I'm going to be there next time. Nah, man, your actions are showing me where you're at. And if your actions aren't meeting what my criteria is, by all means, find another space.
That's what I was talking about when I'm saying, like, you're kind of just creating a space for someone to act like they don't do what they do.
Right.
Like, nah, I'm not disrespecting your time. Like, actually, you are.
Yeah.
Like, habitually at that.
And then how you gonna tell me to my face that you're not disrespecting me when I feel disrespected? You
No,
know what
I
I'm
mean,
saying? Like,
because okay, so I can reference a past situation that has nothing to do with me, and just know that like I gave horrible advice to someone, and I just was like, hey, like that person's always late. How about we just tell them going forward that things happen an hour before, so that they can be on time, and then they might have had to wait for 15 minutes for once because they came 45 minutes into their time that we gave them. They're like, the nerve of everybody. I was like, the nerve of you. So I mean, like when it comes to stuff like that, I'm like, people just are fine with the positions they take in this, and they're like, I don't care if I disrespect your time every time.
Yeah.
Once you do to me once, we have to reassess this relationship.
See, like, in another example of this, and this, when my grandfather passed, my uncle became the pastor of his church, and so he was like, he does the way that he does things is like on a schedule, and it has it's like a time, it's a time thing. He's very timely, and so where my grandfather was a little bit more relaxed with that, that's what their church was used to. So but instead of even doing that, like to where he was saying like it starts at this time and it really starts at this time, what he would do was just go start service up and not do the thing where we're doing praise and worship for an hour and a half. You know what I'm saying?
Just
Like,
keep it pushing.
he's like, nah, we doing this and the service, like these things are happening at these times. So it wasn't on the program, like the times, but he had that, like on his phone, his iPad or whatever. He's like, like this stuff is happening at this time. We're coming in, we're doing what we got to do, and we out. And then, like there was times that people that went there, like they would show up at the time that they wanted to show up and service will be over. There's sometimes people will be leaving the building. Sometimes they will come and everything will be dark. You know what I'm saying? Like,
sure.
because, he was like, stuff. But what it did was it started, like, it created a different culture for, you know what I mean? Like, but it was still like one of those things he didn't like the not being on time stuff. Like,
he had to set up his standard. The previous standard was what everyone was familiar and used to.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
Okay, so if you take that out of the church example, right?
Yep.
And you just, I hate to say it, but it can be very cutthroat, but it's a very like get with it or get lost kind of feel.
Yeah.
And is that okay for you to do in friendships? If you're just like, yo, listen, man, like we as a collective of friends are no longer going to be like in prison to like your lax way of being. Like, so all of us are going to just move forward with the standard we're fine with instead of being held back by your standard. You're either going to step up to what we are on, or you're going to be left back there.
I think that would probably depend on the situation, right?
No, of course.
You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of times where like everybody has that one friend that just can't seem to move the way everybody else moves. And it's like you're okay, like you said, you're okay to an extent, but I think depending on the friendships and stuff like that, the cutthroat approach probably wouldn't work. That's just my take though. Like that's how I am. But then again, on the flip side, I don't keep a lot of friends. For a lot of different reasons. Cutthroat reasons, right? So like I can sit here and say, yeah, man, you should probably give it, but I'm not to give you a chance guy.
Right.
Good Lord.
So it just sounds good.
Yeah.
So you more with me.
Yeah. And I say, almost to play like devil's advocate, like, come on, kid, we gotta get it. But I'm not. And I've always been that way. But it's for a reason. You know what I mean? I think, but like you're saying, though, like depending on the friendship, depending on the type of stuff, like there may be some things that you're willing to accept. Like some people just are not going to conform. Like I know people who've been friends for like 30 years and they just know that the guy, like you can say all you want to.
They're just like, I'm me.
Yeah.
That's who I'm gonna be.
You know what I mean? And I think part of the reason why that is your friend is because you there was something about them that drew to. So like it's tough to be, you know what I mean, so cutthroat in certain situations. You know what I mean?
But to that point though, what about growth in a relationship? right? Like nobody is the same person they were a decade ago, hopefully, right?
Exactly where I was gonna go.
We're all supposed to grow, evolve, improve, hopefully, right?
Right.
You know, so if someone has been stagnant
Mhm.
and the rest of the group, or even person to person, there's been a level of growth. Do we stun ourselves to make that person comfortable who's stagnant, or do we sever ties and continue to move forward in our evolution and allow that person the choice to either grow and come with, or stay stagnant and be lost?
Well, I mean, it depends on the growth you speak of. You know what I mean? It
Mhm.
depends on what it is what area of you grew in. It could be like, I don't need to go to a club anymore, right?
Okay, that's a great example.
Yeah.
So cool. Say like you got 4 male friends, right?
Right.
4 of you guys. And like 3 of you yo, so 3 of you are like happily in your relationships, and like you've moved on to no, not even.
It just sounds, I feel attacked.
Nah, so 3 of you are like, and this is how we'll make sure that's not you. Like we've all always been single, and then 3 of you all of a sudden just like, yeah, you know what? My knees don't work the way they used to. I'm ready to shut it all down. So cool. Like now you're like, you know what I mean? You don't want to be out in the club dancing. You don't want to be having fun, like that old version of fun. Like new fun is attractive to you. Family. You know what I mean? Like family trips, like you just took, good stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's fun now. Like I don't want to be in the VIP standing on the couch. Like it's not really fire.
I think, but you know what's crazy though? It's like, okay, so like I use me, right? I have people who are like this. They're not married. I am. I have been for some years now, right? I don't always want to do some of the things they want to do, but every now and again, you make a concession for it.
100%.
So you're like, all right, man, I don't personally feel like doing this. If the group's doing this, I want to chill with the group for a little bit, I'll go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But that's all. But okay, so if it's the reverse, and you're the lone married one, right?
Yeah.
For example,
Trash.
that would be you being upset that everyone doesn't stop going to the club.
Yeah, but that's
because you're not on what everybody else is on. They're like, bro, like you can't get mad that we're not doing what you're doing.
But that's exactly why I made that analogy. You know what I mean? Like so you start going to the club, like growth, right? I feel as though I grew. Some people may not feel like that, like what I did was growth. So it's all in how, like all in what they would consider to be growth. You know what I mean? Like they could look at it like, nah, you didn't grow, bro. You're just boring. You know what I mean?
Right.
When in all actuality, like they don't know all the ins and outs or whatever, so they think what they're doing is still like a cool thing. Like, so I wouldn't necessarily
which it is for them.
That. It is. So that's what I'm saying. I think sometimes certain things work for certain people, and you kind of just accept that.
I just think the only difference with the club example is like the animosity. Like as long as you're happy in your space, and like you know what I mean, like you don't feel bad in the group chat when like they're talking about Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and you're like, yeah, that's cool. Like you know what I mean? Like it's just when you're the person that's doing something different, and you're mad everyone else isn't like shutting down the different thing they do to appease you.
But you know what? And this would actually like lean into my trigger.
It's
like,
perfect.
It's like I also don't want to be like the basher. Like you know what I mean? Like, oh, I grew, so y'all are terrible because you're doing this. Like,
oh yeah.
So that's a trigger for me because like it's happened to me before, where it's like, and it still happens sometimes where whatever the case may be, it has not even just like a relationship, but just anything in life. Somebody constantly trying to tell you how you should be living based on how they're living when we're not in that same space, we're not in that same path. Like, give everybody a chance to do it their way, figure it their way, is a trigger for me. Like, it actually sets me off. Like, if you say, man, you should have been finished school. Okay. In your opinion, I should have been finished school, but maybe when I was 20, I didn't know what degree I wanted. At 34, I do. So now it makes more sense for me to spend my money this way on this. Tell me what this. It's a trigger for me.
Yeah,
it actually bothered. Like it'll get me into like a disagreement.
That's such a nice word.
A disagreement. Because but it's one of those things where like it'll go back to the whole group chat thing. Like if the married guy jumps into me, I ain't gonna find nothing in the club. I don't know why y'all keep going. It's like, damn, shut up.
Like, bro, you met your wife at the
Yeah,
club.
I want to
Like, just let
I don't
me.
know what y'all think y'all gonna find the hole.
Trust me.
That's where I'm at right now.
Like, I'm not even trusting my process. I'm trusting yours. Like,
But what are you after in their cheeks?
Like,
What is wrong with you, man?
yeah, stop acting different.
But no, I think so. I think, like I said, I kind of just jumped into like what my trigger is, and I don't even know how to really work on it.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's, I think to me that's the thing. The hard part of the trigger is the fact that I just do not know how to work on it because I will never accept somebody telling me how I'm supposed to be doing something. Like they always say, "Oh, it's constructive." It's not.
Oh,
Right.
great.
For me, it's kind of like not taking things personally, right?
Right.
We all have an opinion, we all have thoughts, we all have feelings, right?
Mhm.
But we give those feelings an emotion. You know what I'm saying? Like each person's trigger is different because they're taking it to the heart in that way. Like so for me, when I'm trying to like remove myself from that, it's like not taking it personally. Is how I start to begin that process of not having disagreements with people.
So I think part of the reason I take it personally is because, like I said, I generally do not keep like friends. Like I've known these dudes my whole life. Like this is not a friend type deal. So like 9 times out of 10, they wouldn't approach me. 10 times out of 10, they wouldn't approach me that way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I understand, you know, the relationship with people, you know this, you know that. So like if someone were to do that, they would be close to me. So now I feel I'm going to put something personal into it because it's like, yo, you should know me enough to know, this is not how you approach me, right? Yeah. And that's that. I think that's why I would take it personal because it's not like foreign people doing it. It would be like people that know me, related to me, or know me for years. You know what I mean?
I think it's annoying because what you're describing is self-righteousness. Right. So it's like, you know, like just because you're in a place you feel like everybody else should now automatically be in that place, and that's not how life works all the time. And so, you know, of course we can agree on fundamental things, like for example, if I, you know, like I'm serious about you know, my job because it's my livelihood, not because I enjoy doing it so much, but because I know that I need this thing to live.
Right.
There are other, you know what I'm saying? Like when you get your first job, you know, we have like people who are younger that don't have that same mindset. And so, you know, when you have your first job, you know what I mean? Like it's like whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like you have all of these sort of securities that you know what I mean? Like that you don't have when you're, you know what I mean? Like you're, you know, like being an adult. Like in a, you know, like once you're out in the world now, like you're the acrobat without the net. Like you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like you know, like we're Robin's family. We're doing it for real. Like so you know, so it's like, you know, I don't. But there's like certain things like I don't expect people to do. I really don't expect people to do anything a lot of times. Like I said, outside the fundamentals like things. But you know what I mean? Like, because sometimes we arrive at growth by mistake. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you kind of, I don't want to say you luck up into a better mindset, but sometimes things just happen. You know, like the dominoes just fall a certain way. You be like, yo, you know what? That's cool. Like, I probably stepped into mad stuff that my brothers were able to see and be like, I love him, but I'm not gonna do that. Like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo. So it's, you know what I mean? I don't know. That's really a disappointing mindset to have. But really, I mean, there's people that do it, I guess, in the name of constructive criticism or trying to show tough love, which, you know what I mean, which we absolutely do need to do to one another at some point in time. But I think that telling somebody where they should be or what they should be doing in that way. So that's one thing. I'll give you an example, right? So what you're talking about, which is negative, like that's wrong. But then like got like like Terrell might be like, yo, man, you need to, you know what I mean? Like you need to tell so and so that that you can sing, man, or you could, you know what I'm saying, you can spit, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, well, I know where he's coming from with it, like not be, you know what I'm saying, like, yo, this is what you need to be doing. I can take that because I understand what he's, like what he's saying. It's like, yo, even if it was like, yo, you would probably be farther along if you were willing to put yourself out there more. That, you know what I'm saying, like that. It hurts, but
that's
he's right.
But
so I can't be mad.
But that in itself is a nudge in a positive direction, as opposed to like a backhanded compliment.
Sure. Intention has a lot to do with that.
Yeah,
nice intention.
Yeah, because a lot of backhand, like to me, what you talked about with the school thing, like that sits in the space close to backhanded compliments. Like when people are like, "That's great that you're doing that now," but I mean, it would have been even better if you did it like 10 years ago.
Right.
You'd be like, "What? Like you had to say that for me to like."
You didn't have to have the last
You
one.
couldn't just say congratulations.
Right.
Period. Like you couldn't do that. Like that wasn't okay. Like so, I mean, like I feel like we live in a world that's rooted around that, where like there are some people that just don't feel as if they're like they don't feel like, for example, you know what I mean, like you got some fresh shoes on, you know what I'm saying, and be like, you want to take a picture with your fresh shoes, but you only feel better if somebody's next to you with some dirty ones. Like you know what I mean, like unfortunately, like that's just how, like you know what I mean, like we live in a very comparative world where like people aren't just happy enough with themselves with something to be happy about. So like
don't
there's
project that on me.
No,
You know what I mean?
but that's how, I mean, like unfortunately people are terrible like that. You know what I mean? Like they'll literally be like, oh, like like, wish you got your degree back when I got mine. Like what? Like
That's what makes it the trigger. You know
For sure.
It's probably, so I won't even say it's the intent, right? It's paying attention to people's intent when they say or do anything, and that to me would be the trigger, right? I can always tell when somebody's doing something just off the strength, or if there's some other intent behind it. Like if you say something like that to me, it's like, are you saying it to motivate me, or are you saying that to to belittle me, or whatever it is that I've done? So I think that's why it's the trigger. You know what I mean? It's like you can't. Pride says you can't talk to me any kind of way, right? So you got to take the pride. You got to take the pride out of it.
I think it's higher than pride, Joe. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, you can't talk to me. Like, how about that? Like,
you know what I mean? So I guess, like I said, that would be my trigger for it. And again, I do not know how to work on it. Like the thing that I did work on was kind of under that was the temper that followed it. And
that's work.
That to me was the more important thing. Like I could get frustrated, but now I don't want to fight you now.
That's growth. Don't minimize it.
Yeah. No, it really is. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Because we live in a world where people are horrible.
Yeah.
So it's like, learning how to manage horrible people is a talent. Don't ever shortchange that.
Oh no, listen.
Being able to manage your anger, bro. We came up from an era where you get shot stepping on somebody's shoes.
Absolutely,
sure.
Absolutely. You know what I mean? And so again, I would say the under part is the part that I worked on, but just that initial frustration, and the desire to cut you off after that. Right.
I don't know if I'm ready to work on
it. Well, no. I'm saying I'm not either.
I take the honesty, bro.
I'm not either. That's what I'm saying. That's where the problem is. It's like, okay, you said
I don't even know if that's a problem.
That's great. Well, I mean, this will probably be the last time that we have any discussions,
But remember how you spoke about the people that you choose to be your friends.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're not always going to be able to say, like, yo, man, I've known you since we sat on the green thing outside of your house. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're not going to be able to say that for everybody.
The electrical tag.
You know what I'm saying? Like, like, some people you're going to run into at work and they're going to be cool. You know what I mean? Like, when you're 25.
Yeah.
And, like, you know what I mean? And those friendships. Now, the problem is, I personally believe, at least with me being an overthinker, because I've been so selective with who I've let see the nicer side of myself, when one of those people let me down, that's when I have to be like, oh, I guessed wrong. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, oh, you shouldn't have been here. Like, I've been so picky, and like, how did I pick you? like I shouldn't even had you. You shouldn't even been here to hurt me. Like, I don't like.
Well, last week you made you made a right, a correct comment too about how sometimes you can do your due diligence on things and still end up wrong.
Sure.
You know, I was saying, I mean, but I would still rather do that due diligence because I feel like I'm at least covering my bases. So even if, you know what I mean, like, so I don't have to feel bad if it goes wrong and bad because I didn't make an informed decision. I just be like, well, I took an L, cause you know what I mean, like, but there was nothing I can do about it.
For sure.
Do you value the length of time of a relationship over the content of the relationship? Like you just said, so I met somebody at work at 25, but this person is super solid versus somebody that you've known your whole life.
Nah, I mean, see, the thing is, I'm all about day songs. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't really, like, I can't really be about the day one thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna be a slave to the time. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I mean, I put in a song before. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, like I feel like the sum of our union is enough for me to consider my day songs more important. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if I've only kicked it with you heavy for a decade and him for 2, because we're all on this plane. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're all bringing the same level of quality to the friendship. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, even then, like, you may be new to said friend group, and I'll be like, yo, AJ, you gotta know about White. I'm telling you, bro, like, he's really solid. Like, yo, he has this common interest with you that I don't even have, but I know enough that I've always listened to you talk about it, that you and him would link, and y'all might be able to really do something fire. Like, y'all should get together. That happens.
Yeah.
If you have people that have the right type of mentality around each other. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, if I'm saying it to you, you're like, okay, must have vetted dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't think that he's gonna be a snake or whatever the case may be. So, all right, cool, let's see.
So once again, we are on the Digital Boombox Network. This is the Logic Based Collective. We're gonna go to Siobhan right quick. Before we do that, KJ, where actually can we get your music? Speaking of day songs.
Oh man, yeah, streaming. I mean, you know, all those things that you pay your lovely subscriptions to. Like, yeah, it's there. You know, my name's KJ. It's spelled phonetically. KYJY. Like, it's real simple. I guess. Like, you know, like, but that's that. Like, you know, keep it pushing until the actual new project drops.
Wherever you stream music, wherever you buy music, is there.
Yeah, it's there. Who's your friend?
I just want you to say. So we're talking about our triggers, our negative triggers, and then what are they, the way that we are handling them, and if we're trying to get it, you know, to reverse them, how are we doing that?
Oh, that's directed to right. Okay, all right. So,
Ladies' lives. We're not gentlemen. Or you're lady. I don't know.
you know, when I think of my triggers, it's mostly, I mean, at this point in my life, I don't really have outside triggers anymore. Like, I don't really let other people's behaviors affect me, but my triggers tend to be internal, like, you know, overthinking. That's me. Like, a scenario will happen, and on the outside, I am cool, calm, collected, but the possibilities start formulating in my mind. And
the meme with all the math equations.
Right, exactly. And it's like, oh, okay, well, maybe they meant this, or when they said this, they meant it this way, or whatever. And it's never in the moment. It's like after the fact, like, hold up, I didn't like how that went down, or whatever it may be. But it's never someone's innate behavior or action at that moment. It's something that happens with me. So I'm really aware of that at this point. And I think I had this conversation with you before, where it's like kind of understanding and knowing when a negative thought hits my mind, like, that doesn't belong there. Where did that come from? And like kind of assessing, like, you know, what do you do with that? So I'm a work in progress. Absolutely.
I want to take the opportunity to even say, shout out to the homie Coop. He had said to White and I, a gentleman that we work with, that negative thoughts don't belong in our mind, and negative people don't belong in our space. I think that's where that came from. But yeah,
I agree.
So like when you're, you know that you, or I think that the crazy thing is, this is a podcast of filled with introverts. Like, we would only have these discussions a lot of times with one another, and not necessarily just people on the streets, or just in regular people in passing. And so I'm saying that to say that I'm sure that all of us have dealt with overthinking to some degree, but like, how do you, because that's your main thing that that you're focusing on in terms of what your trigger is, like what do you do? And the reason I'm asking that is because you know that it happens.
Mhm.
You can sometimes tell when you're doing it.
Right.
But how what do you do to stop yourself? You know what I mean? Like, you ever be like, yo, I gotta stop doing this because if I do this, it's gonna do that. But then while you're talking to yourself, like, the probabilities are still.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, that well, I don't know if you guys saw Quantumania. I don't want to give away. Like, it's kind of, you got caught.
The one person that didn't see it isn't going to. So. Oh wait, no. He
got caught in a probability storm, and so you know what I mean. Like, it was like a mind trick. But what was happening was everything that he thought could happen during this mission, it was like he was split in two every time he would think of a probability, until there were like so many of him, like the mission was almost impossible. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so like I thought that was a good demonstration of what it is to overthink, because you have so many thoughts that, you know what I'm saying, like the productive one can't shine through without some help. And he ended up getting help from this is Ant-Man. He ended up getting some help from the Wasp, but I thought that it was a really good illustration of how it is when we do overthink. So like, what do you do when you start to have those thoughts?
Ooh, if I'm in a fairly good space at the time, it's kind of quick. I'll be able to be like, all right, now this person, or again, depending on what the situation is. If I'm dealing with someone specific, I have to like remember who that person is. What are they about? Are they, what's their integrity level? Like, are they someone who I can rely on, who's not trying to assassinate me? And then it's like, oh, okay, well, she wouldn't, or he or she would not do that. That's not the intention, at least. Sometimes things come out and, and you can just misread anything. Like you guys were talking about earlier, like just the age that we're in and the way that we communicate, it's very easy to misinterpret things via text or, whatever else you're doing. But so I just analyzing who I'm dealing with. And if it gets that deep, I gotta step away. Like, I gotta remove myself from whatever it is. Social media a lot of times has done that for me, where I'm rabbit hole. Is that what the term is? Like, you kind of go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, it exacerbates the overthinking on a level that I just didn't even know my brain is just like, wow, woo. But like just removing myself, like I gotta turn my phone off. I gotta, log off or whatever it is, and just kind of like, for me, I'll like have to listen to gospel or something, like to like really just like, all right, you're about to go somewhere you don't want to go.
Let Jesus get all of it.
Right.
I never would have made it.
But that even like, again, that took work, because there was a point where, I would just start addressing people prematurely and then cause friction, just because of something that really wasn't happening. So just taking the time and just like kind of decompressing and like, all right, let me go wash some dishes and just like relax my mind and kind of distract myself from whatever it is I was thinking about.
So what happens when there's no chores?
There's always something to do. There's like I have a 6-year-old. There's always something.
And I'm only asking because I'm an overthinker. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like when you look around, you're like, wow, there's nothing that's gonna get me out of thinking about this thing.
But honestly and truly, like prayer, that's really like that the end all be all, really. And thank God, because prayer saves lives, So
right.
Like literally. Sorry.
Oh man, can I ask? Nah, you good. Can I ask a question to everybody about overthinking? Yeah. Because did you say you overthink as well?
Oh, absolutely.
I know you didn't necessarily say it, but do you?
Time to
Okay,
time, yeah.
cool. So since we all have bouts with overthinking, like, do you feel like you're overthinking? Like, do you often blame yourself once it's done?
100%.
Okay.
Once the
The process of overthinking. Like, I feel like I like get so exhausted and thinking about all the possibilities that I like end up in that LeBron tweet when I'm like, maybe it's me.
you know what I don't.
Okay.
I think it goes by situations, of course, but a lot of times I do a lot of logic based thinking. So like
For sure.
I try to find the logic in whatever the action was, even if it was an illogical situation. You know what I mean? And I think that's where the overthinking is because I'm expecting you to make this particular decision. You did not make this decision. So now I'm just sitting here like, okay, why? Why though? Like,
Yeah.
If you do this, you know this will happen, or if you do that, that'll happen. But I never blame me. I always look at. I mean, unless I'm the cause, of course. All right, unless I'm the cause, but like, depending on the situation, I'm just thinking to myself like, why? It always comes back to why. Like, what was your thought process? Like, I'm interested in knowing where you thought you were getting with your thoughts, and then I start to think about what you might have been thinking to get you to where you got, and it's just.
You know what's funny? When it's that clear to me, I'm like, nah, they had to see it this way. They chose not to do it.
But you
Like, they chose to ignore how obvious this is.
So I think self-awareness got to come into play. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because I know enough about myself to know that I overthink things. You know what I mean? Like, I always keep that possibility as like one of the main ones in my mind.
So
And
you be like, yeah, he's stuck on stupid. Like, he doesn't think like I think.
Well, I know.
So
I
he
know
might
that.
just be dumb.
Well, I know that not
There are
necessarily dumb, but I think for me, because probably one of my greatest strengths and weaknesses is that I do look at things differently than people sometimes, which can sometimes make you look stupid to people, or sometimes can make you look like, wow, how did you think of that? And so, you know what I mean? Like, but a big part of my overthinking comes from being in relationships where I had to sort of keep my head on a swivel. And so like the unnecessary possibilities that I shouldn't have to worry about, I'm always worrying about. So now I'm not, you know, like when I think of my moves kind of like the way that you would do in like Minecraft or like Dungeons and Dragons, where like, okay, well, I decided to do this thing and now I have 14 possibilities. Like, you know, so I can go down this path, this path, this path, this path.
Out of bank.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, you know, so you know what I mean? Like, but it's like, so I know that I want to end up here. Now I just got to figure out how to navigate this maze. And you know what I mean? Like, so I know that a lot of times I have to check myself and be like, yo, this is not normal. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, this is not, you know what I mean? Like it's okay to trust people sometimes. Like everybody does not have an angle. You know what I mean? Like, so
Don't
like,
say it.
Like,
don't just not.
like,
don't blink twice.
But I'd be like, yo, but because I'm like real, like, you know, like real life. I've had to live that way where I have to be 2 or 3 steps ahead of somebody, and it's exhausting. But then when you don't have to do it anymore, like you're living an entirely different life, but you're still, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, I will admit, like sometimes even now, like I find myself in survival mode because that's what I had to do for so long. It's like now I don't have to be there, but I still feel like I'm there. Like you know what I mean? Like I'm like, well, nah, you know, it's not gonna happen. But just in case it does happen, you know what I mean? Like I'm not getting ready to get got. You know what I mean? Like, and so
that's when your trauma like it's like more or less on your sleeve. You know what I mean? Like, you know, my lady will jokingly say it about me sometimes in certain examples. She'll be like, oh, that's your PTSD though.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Because it'd be like she'd be like, yeah, like, you know, like you're not. We'll joke around and be like, you don't look like what you've been through. But you sure showing it right now. Like, that don't got nothing to do with me.
Like I see your scars.
Nah, for sure, right?
Like, yeah, I mean, but it'd be like it be that, and for me, probably that may be an indicator of when you know that you're that you begin to sort of like get over stuff, or that you know what I mean, or like when you're really healed from the thing. A lot of times we like to declare ourselves, like we all right, because because we got us out of the situation. And of course, people always say what doesn't kill you will make you stronger. But if something almost killed you, you do have to recover from that, whatever happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so like that's the part of the process that that gets gets overlooked. But I'm you know what I mean? Like I'm just saying as it pertains to me and what Siobhan was saying, like, yo, I know that I can be an overthinker. Like I was watching Ant-Man, like, oh my God, this is me. I feel seen. Like
even watching a whole person shrink smaller than a soda bottle, you thought that was you?
Amen.
In real life.
Hey, that's wild. He grows to be giant. That's the thing. That's the
okay. So it's like the reverse of like childhood. It's like, see, like you grow.
Yeah. So now I'm just gonna do things so I don't feel this way anymore. So I don't feel small from wearing a really big chain. Like,
Oh man!
Every time I put on this bracelet, I feel like I'm somebody.
It just came at like the whole minority way of thinking, like in buying shiny things.
So if I turn up my value just a couple of notches more,
like Kanye, things we buy.
You'll have to listen to me.
What's inside.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh man! So back to your shopping now. No, I'm joking, bro.
Digital Boombox Network, we are the logic-based collective, and we're talking about our negative triggers and the ways that we are getting over said triggers if we are trying to do that.
Yo, something you said you should type for a later conversation.
What's that?
About like the use of cliches when they're used against you.
In what way? Go ahead.
I mean, because like when you said what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah.
I was just thinking like that's sort of thing that keeps people in situations that they're not supposed to be in. Because you're like, you're supposed to endure this.
Oh, look at that.
Nope. Of course not.
Right.
But that's how. But that's
what?
Like no, how cliches can be used against you. You know what I mean?
Keep your stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yep, got it.
I just think we'll have fun revisiting that on its own.
That would definitely be. I think something that's a major that's a major trigger for me is not feeling understood because now you guys are my friends, so you know sometimes when I'm telling you a story I have to give you complete context so that you know what I mean, so that you really understand what it is that I'm saying. I'm not gonna, you know what I mean, like, so it's like, oh, I don't know why this person did this. Nah, like so I did this, which made them want to do that. Like I don't, you know what I mean, like so I want to be able to, because even if you give advice, I want you to be able to have it from it for it to be rooted in something like something real. So like sometimes you just tell people stuff and you just kind of tell them your version. You're like, no. This is what I did. I can totally see why they shot at me. But,
I can see why they shot at me. It's crazy.
but yeah, like I feel like so I feel like when I'm explaining something to not feel understood is like is crazy. It was like this one time I was trying to I don't be trying to tell my business or like I try to handle things on my own or whatever. And in this situation, I really couldn't do it because I was at a point where I started almost falling out with people in my family because because of what I wasn't saying, but I was telling saying what the situation was, but not necessarily like the details. But I felt like I was giving enough information to for at least somebody to understand and be like well, I see where you're coming from. And it's even if you disagree, it's like, oh, I see where you're coming from, but this is why I feel that you should give this another shot. Or this is why I feel like this is not a good idea. It was just like everybody's just like, like, nah, like you're wrong. Like you're just, you know what I'm saying? Or
Right.
or even, you know, or even in situations where that, I mean, where that might be the case, like at the end of the day, because I have to live my life. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody has to live with the consequences of the things that I've done except for me. And I'm not talking about it not affecting everybody else, but I'm saying for what I have to do, I really gotta live this. So don't, you know what I mean? Like, so I hate like when I'm saying something and then it's like, well, I've got a simple solution for that. Why don't you just stop? I'm like, well, if it were just that easy, then I would. But you got to understand, like, you know what I mean? Like walking it out is a totally different thing than just like making a suggestion. And you know what I mean? Like it's hard to be able to take criticism in that moment because I'm already frustrated. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so, one time, shoot, I almost fell out with my dad one time because, you know what I'm saying? Because I mean, but and to, like to his credit, we're very alike, and so I'm probably the most like him out of all my brothers and my sister. So so we're thinking along the same lines. When my dad is, he's gonna stand on his square. Like
Right.
the wind is not gonna blow him off. Wolves are not gonna chase him off. Like you know what I'm saying? Like no, somebody can come through doing Indian burns. He's just gonna take it. Like it's like like it's
This is where I'm
like
at.
so. You know what I mean? Like so, it's like we both draw our lines in the sand. Like that's gonna be it. The thing that you know what I mean? Like, but I always look, I'm going to, because, and part of the reason I get mad is because I'm going to second guess myself because of everything that you're saying. I have to consider that you might be right, especially if you're somebody that I trust. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, but if it feels like you're not taking my position even into consideration, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I need, this is really something that I'm working on. I'm cool with, you know, if you don't necessarily agree with this thing that I have to do or that I feel that I have to do, but if you're not taking into consideration or communicating why you understand, but you know what I'm saying, why I'm saying what I'm saying, then it like that becomes a problem for me. I'm definitely working on that, but it is very hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, so I ain't ready to put all my business on the radio.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, but you know what I'm saying? Like, at some point I will, but I'm still, you know what I mean? I'm kind of going through some stuff, but it's like, in the situation, being stubborn is not always a bad thing. I feel like in my experience, sometimes it's just being stubborn about the right stuff. Like you do, like you do. You.
That's
Oh,
what
you're,
I mean,
you're definitely
but is that okay, like on the giving side as well as the receiving? Because I feel like that's one of those things, like to say that statement as far as like, I don't mind if I'm like giving you stubbornness, like because I'm completely biased to my point of view.
No,
As opposed to like
not being
someone-
biased. But what I'm saying, I'm not talking about in the way of being biased, but sometimes like I'm saying stubborn I'm saying sometimes it can be a bad thing, but sometimes it can be a good thing. Like you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be no wish-washy nigga. Like if I feel away, huh?
No.
No, I'm saying if I feel away on this thing, I'm on it. Like and I can be wrong. I was just saying to somebody I was talking to, I was like, there's are times probably even on the pod where you know what I'm saying, like I'm for what I'm saying is not necessarily a favorable position to take, but I'm standing on it because that's what I believe. And if I'm wrong, I can revisit that and say that I'm wrong. I'm not going to edit it out. Y'all going to see it. It is what it is. Cause you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not here to be right all the time, but I'm saying, but if I believe something, why would I, you know what I mean? Like unless I can think about it and then, and come back and see the point, maybe, it might take me a little while to do so. But then on the flip side, the things that I really believe in, like, for example, like, you can't, there have been people who try to convince me that, you know what I'm saying, that Christianity is a white man's religion. I
Sounds
I stand on that. It's not. I don't have to argue. I don't have to argue with nobody about that. But the fact of the matter is, like, you're not going to make me believe that because I believe different. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I think that shows that, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna walk it back because I'm in front of your face. Like, this is the way that I feel. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and now if new information is presented to me, or I think about it in another position, I mean, I can come back to you and be like, yo, you know, I think he was right about this. That's, you know what I'm saying? Like, well, my bad though. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't know about all that being stubborn though. You know what I mean? Just because you stand on your belief, you stand on your square, and you give yourself the space to take in new information and adjust if it fits your lifestyle or it fits you. I wouldn't consider that stubborn. I mean, I know why you're using
Maybe I
that
misspoke.
term. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, you're still
But-
stubborn, but
So,
like,
I
none of that.
I don't appreciate the shade thrown
No, I mean-
from the
I
late.
said, don't try to, like-
You embodied the beginning of the conversation we had, and now you're throwing shade like Drew Brees over there.
I know.
Like,
I was watching. I was like, yeah. Oh, that's
She tried to perm my last email. Like, she
Yo,
Out her ass, NCC. That's
Like, I'm trying to
right there, yo.
I'm trying to put the nicety on it. Like, that's kind of wild.
And then ended with kindest regards. Yeah.
But
The bottom line,
I
yeah,
hope
bro,
this
you
finds you
stubborn.
well.
I hope this finds you well.
Yo, that's all email venom. That's straight email venom.
Yo,
I appreciate you not hitting me with the beatbox though.
oh man. Now I was gonna say there was a couple things that you said that made me like, you know, made my devil's advocacy go.
Oh, I felt it.
Yeah, but I mean, I was just more or less thinking about the fact that right before you acknowledge what your triggers are, as far as being misunderstood, you spoke on the fact that you like have like a unique way of thinking. So how do you navigate that? Because I would like if I know for a fact that I don't think like everyone, like every time I go into a situation, I'd have to be like, there's no way they think like me.
It's, I mean, but not, and that's, you know, the thing is, like I said, that can be a gift and a curse because a lot of times I'll feel like I'm stupid because I don't be thinking, you know what I mean? Like, so when you're doing like simple tasks or things that are simple to other people because you're thinking about it a different way, you know what I mean? Like, it can be looked at from other people like, why, and like, what, you know what I'm saying? Like, Damon, why are you, you know what I'm saying? Like, why are you doing this? Like, sometimes I'm at work and there's like certain tasks, like they might have to say to me like 3 times. I'll be like, huh? I'm like, yo, say that again. Like, can you explain that? Cause you know what I mean? Because, and it seems like it's just regular to everybody else. But I'm like, yo, I totally wouldn't have done it that way. They got, you know, like sometimes it feels like a disability. I'm not saying that's not either. I don't know, but you know, but it's like there is a such thing as, you know, but yeah, I mean, like I don't really know, and that's probably in part what causes like me to think of the other probabilities is that I really do be trying to think of things from other people's perspective. They're not always successful, but I do try to do it. Like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like, but it doesn't work out every time.
Yeah, you can't know everything, no matter how hard you try. And that's what I think I had to like remind myself as an overthinker. It's like, yo, no matter how many scenarios you draw up, it's funny how there's always like something else to consider.
You know, like there is lit. I mean, so how do you? I think an important question is how do you get to the point where you are able to dismiss some of the other stuff and just go on with what it is that you know that you're going to push past, or you know what I'm saying? Like, all right, I'm thinking about this thing, all these other possibilities are coming to my mind, and now you know what I'm saying? Like, but now I gotta do this. Like for me, sometimes I'll be like, I have to tell myself audibly that I don't care, even if I care, because if I say that I don't care enough times, it'll just drown out the sound of that, and I'll just be able to move forward in what I'm doing. But you know what I'm saying? Like like sometimes I really do have to do that. Like, but I mean, I don't know how you guys do it.
I mean, I said it before. I mean, one of the conversations we had about you know, religion and faith. Like, I was like, I really don't have a sea of forgetfulness. Like, you know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, like I'm not blessed with that. So it's like, yeah, I'm gonna give people a lot of space to make mistake or an error repeatedly, but that doesn't mean that I'm gonna forget. I'm only giving that space to make sure that I'm not getting ahead of myself, similar to what Siobhan said. When you're not trying to like just make a rash decision when you're instantly confronting something or whatever.
Pile of data.
Never mind the fact that I hate to say it, but you're a woman. So like unfortunately, you're given a little bit more license to be able to just like operate within your feelings.
I know. Right.
Like I mean, like you gotta think about
Don't
it.
do it enough, though. I know that.
but the thing is, like, if I just was like, yo, I had a hunch that they'd be like, bro, like, what are you talking about? You had a hunch, like, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta like, I gotta come through with like, yo, like, few times this happened, like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't get to necessarily like, it has to be an extreme thing for you to be able to be one and done with most things as a man based on your feelings.
I mean, it can be, or or it could just be the feeling that I don't feel like dealing with this anymore. You know what I mean?
That's why I said I don't talk about it. I just be like, yo, I'm cool.
Yeah, I think some things can be addressed. I mean, when I was younger, I was like the compiled data, present my case to you.
Oh, I'm gonna present the case.
I don't even want you to argue it though. I'm
proving it to myself.
Honestly showing you why you were trash. in my eyes. So that way, when we walk away from this, you understood why we're walking away from this in this fashion. Like, nah, fam, on February 13th of this date or whatever, or you know what I mean, not just be, but yo, you did this, right? I ain't forget. If you notice, there was a distance, right? And then there's more distance. Why? Because you did this on this time. When I was younger, you had a few more chances. Now it's like, I just don't want to do this. Right. And I feel as though I've earned the right to tell you that. And it's not even like a man getting in his feels. It's honestly like bro, I'm in my 30s, man. I don't really have time to, I don't care. No.
You know what's funny?
Mm-hmm.
That whole theory of time is like, I don't even have time to talk to you about it.
Well, I mean, I see that as well, but like, I mean, I honestly feel like I give you the courtesy of letting you know that I'm straight.
Hey, man, you know what's funny?
Because you're courtesy,
we wouldn't be in a space where I'd be feeling like I need to get away from you.
Hey, you ever write like a really long text message and before you send it, you just delete the entire thing?
That's where I've been.
I'm like, you know what? Let it ride.
Okay.
Less is more. Less is more.
No
How
response.
about you calculate this distance on your own?
No. You know what works better? Well, I don't know, maybe because I like to be like a jerk sometimes. I won't even compile a long text message. I just hit you with like the thumbs up emoji.
Oh,
Those are so condescending.
Yo, for some reason.
Yo, bro, I have one friend.
The white one too.
Yeah.
I didn't change it over for you.
I have one friend that sincerely sends a thumbs up, and I know he means no malice by it.
But
And every time he does it, I'm like, is that condescending?
Yeah.
I'm like, what's wrong with me? And I think every time I see it,
That's
like
I know how I use it.
I'm like, yo, I'm a horrible human.
But that'll send you into your overthinking. Yo, wait, did I even come at him crazy? Like, what? It's either a thumbs up or a yup.
Yeah.
Yup will really it'll burn people up, and I know that. So, but on the
Or
flip
the
side,
letter K.
oh
I've
man,
never sent a K.
yo, the K is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
The K will have me turn my phone.
My
off.
mom sent me a K before. Got me in my feelings.
she ain't even know.
Like, yo, you don't care. I called my mom about a yup. What did you mean by that?
I meant, yo.
She was like, I was just responding. Oh, okay. Well, can I get a
feel like
yeah
I
next time?
disrespected you, man.
Yeah. Sound better than yup. And not like the half yeah, not YEA. I need YEAH. I need H.
I need
Just on the
that.
intermediate, man.
Like, if you that's just
The one thing that I didn't do, which I regret now because it matters, especially on a podcast like this one, is ask everybody how they were doing.
Oh, man.
And an opportunity to say that they're doing fine, or
Oh, so that's the
that
only
they're
thing you
not.
can say.
I mean, like, how was your weekend? How was, I don't know, is anything going on in your life? that you would like to share with the listeners on that? We'll go ladies first.
Yeah, this is our chance to
Yeah, I
prove
just
we're
want to add
gentlemen.
that we would have gone ladies first in the beginning, but there was no
So,
ladies
my
in
weekend,
the
Passive aggressive target shots.
I was only out ministering to some young ladies, but
Oh,
we're not.
You just
even
called
gonna
up
go
on
there.
the spirituality.
My God, it's a God of timeliness.
Wow.
You can't
I mean, true. That.
It's like he can be everywhere. He knows that we can't be everywhere at the same time.
I heard a song that said he's an on-time guy.
Yo, but we're not God. So
Oh man, I'm not even offended. This is good.
Mercy.
oh, so you don't even care about being late. Wait till you watch this back and see the part when we were talking about people respecting.
I
our
was
time.
watching the entire time.
Limbo.
Oh, while you were late, you were
The
watching
entire
someone talk
time.
about ironic.
I was like, check this. I mean,
No,
I'm just like, oh, this is a great topic.
Next thing you know, oh, what they doing? And like everybody's talking.
I mean, you guys had just started talking like.
I'm doing like this underneath the camera. No, go ahead.
Oh,
Oh,
man.
Lord. What was the first thing I'm so
How are you doing?
You know what? I just discovered over the weekend how passively competitive I am. Man, like I'm not gonna show it, but like I have this real desire to win.
It's like
Yo.
a sickness.
We're not going to get to how everyone's doing. We're going to talk about that.
Well, no, and I only say that because like it really us like there was a game night and I was
We can
like,
talk about it off here because this is Siobhan is out
Oh, you
here,
was
so-
there.
Yeah. Oh, I was there.
yeah.
She's out here.
I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I didn't know I had been me. I mean, I did. I played sports a good chunk of my life, and but at this age, I'm just like, oh, no, I haven't calmed down. But it felt good, actually. It was nice, and I can't wait to play again because.
What about the person you hit?
Seeing her and Chris go at it was so satisfying.
And the funny thing about it is, it's like we're both the youngest in our families, so like it felt right. Like it was just like, yeah, all right, I got you.
The tones of positive, if there is such a thing, passive aggression, in the way that they talk to one another. I don't know if you guys
Oh, wow.
want to rewind once this is over and listen to the college words that Siobhan uses. Chris is the same. It's the same way. It was
It was
like
great.
It's like how a Family Guy when they were like, this is how English guys have drive-bys. I'm like, Reginald, I disagree. So
Oh, man.
continue. I'm sorry.
No, that was it. I was just like, oh, okay, that's me, huh? All right, cool.
Ryan, how are you doing? You just came on vacation. You have a lot to
Oh
say.
yeah.
I did. I came on vacation, which was nice, man. Pocket's a little lighter, but you know what I mean? It's kind of how it goes. I discovered my love of golf. So, yeah, I'm moving into that vein in life. Like,
Good luck with that with the pockets.
yeah, I know, right? I know.
New expensive habits.
Yeah, for real. But it's all good. Like, I understand that basketball is just gone now, but it's okay.
You used to work for a place that made golf apparel
I did.
and
I did.
accessories. Yeah.
Sure did. Got a bunch of golf balls. I'm gonna use them now. But nah. So I mean, the trip was cool. I didn't want to come back. I came back from 90 to 30. So that's kind of trash.
Wow, stay healthy. That's
Yeah, that's crazy actually. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. But other than that, man, I like my weekend was cool. I'm just really intrigued to hear the Siobhan and Chris story. Like, I don't care about anything else. Like, my week was chill. What happened there, though? Like, what was the game? Like, I want to know that type of stuff. Only because I'm a disgustingly competitive person, and I have been competing with Chris our entire existence.
This would be amazing if you were to get it on
I
stage.
know.
Yeah.
So, again,
so we're getting to the end of the podcast.
But it was great. Great time, great vacation, great reset. Hopefully I'll do it again.
I like sports, and that's it. Nah, I would say that I'm well, I'm healthy. How about a new hoodie? I've never worn before. Just trying to say things that are positive. I got a haircut before the weekend started.
Yeah.
So
Okay, back to blink twice.
I'm off. I'm off. Yeah, I'm off work this week, so that should be a good week. I didn't. Yeah, I got an opportunity to attend some church services that I wouldn't otherwise have been able to get to. It's one of the things that being on first shift has afforded me to be able to do, except on Sunday mornings when I just like being around for like Bible studies and
Right.
you know what I mean, like in like revivals. It's like everybody was getting revived with me. So now,
Conducive to my schedule.
So like now, so that's been a pretty big lifeline, being available, I guess, to run errands, kind of, and then like seeing your family can do wonders for your morale. Morale, I said it. It's a KJ album. Go on.
Oh,
Wherever you stream songs,
The segue was
it's there.
Yeah, we can't talk about you doing music too, I promise.
But yeah, I would say overall, I'm doing well. Thankful for health. I got to my grandmother is in the hospital, and I got a chance to see her, and she's doing well. And so I really can't complain about much. That's it for me. I did get to witness that game. We played Incoherent, by the way. The name of the game is Incoherent. It's a blast.
Never heard of it.
I'm not gonna do
Me,
that.
that was my first time playing.
I'm not gonna do a commercial because they're not paying us, but
But you could. If you'd like to.
so we're gonna start taking the labels off these Gatorade bottles. Ain't doing it. But Terrell, man, how are you feeling, man? How you been?
Oh, I'm good, man. No complaints. Feeling sensational. No complaints, man. Family's good. Looking forward. My brother's coming up this month, so get to spend some time with family, which is always good because I'm out here on the island. So anytime I get to spend a little time with the family and link up is always a pleasure. Celebrate one of my good friends' retirement from the fire department. Those fire department parties, if you've never been to one of those, it should be a smashing shindig. So looking forward to that.
Sounds like
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
How's your mom doing, bro?
No, but it's gonna be dope, man. So family's good, connecting with family, celebrating good people, doing good things, man. Life is good. I'm blessed.
How's your mom doing?
Fantastic, bro.
Yeah.
She's doing really good. I'll tell you, that's why she asked about you as well.
Yeah, man.
I told her what was going on with you. She's like, oh, I'm gonna pay for that boy.
Yeah,
He's going through so much.
See, those that's what the prayers of his mom righteous. The prayers of the righteous avail much.
Right.
Probably
She
everybody
got a
saying
direct
they
line
praying
to
for you.
Jesus.
As you know, when black folks say they're praying for you, that'd be the prayer. But she gonna really pray.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. For sure.
Okay, man, how you doing, man?
I'm cool, man. I mean, I hate to just be so general, but I'm in the areas where I'm not cool. I'm probably not gonna.
How is your
right now.
significant other, bro?
Better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We ain't gonna say how or what. Just,
Yeah.
you know what I'm
Better.
saying? My bad, I meant to say that when you first came in.
Yeah, no, better. Other than that, I mean, like, we cool, man. Like, going through the day-to-day of the week and just keep me going, man. That's what everything's good. Everything could always be worse. I was happy on one of my a good friend of mine and I moved away. He actually was up this weekend, so I was able to spend some time with him. That was cool. Just like, people that you're used to seeing regularly, like when the relationship switches to like the phone, you're like, oh wow, this is weird. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was cool. So I feel you on having your bro come back.
Yeah, for sure. Looking forward to it.
Sure, man. Before we get out of here, just because it was somebody that was who we grew up with that really meant a lot to some of us who knew. Man, I just want to take a real quick moment in silence for the homie F. Goodman.
Mm.
That's peace, respect, love, praying for the family. And we are going to get out of here. We are the Logic Based Collective. That is Siobhan. This is Ryan. I'm AJ. This is Terrell. That's KJ. We are the collective. And until the next time, allow Jesus to be the lotion that lathers y'all. Ashy soul. Yeah, we out here.
It's messy out already.
Is it?
Mhm.
Yeah, I got that text. Yeah,